Welcome to the deep dive. I was thinking about one of the most, unassuming devices to come out in the last few years, the Apple AirTag.
Hmm.
It's just this simple coin-sized piece of plastic and metal. You toss it in a bag, you forget about it, and yet somehow it seems to defy physics by always knowing where it is. No GPS, no SIM card.
It absolutely feels like a contradiction. I mean, usually for tracking, you need two things, right?
Yeah.
You need GPS to know where you are, and you need a cellular chip to phone home. The AirTag has neither.
And that exact contradiction is why we're here.
Mm.
We got a fantastic question from a listener, Elton, who really wants to get into the mechanics.
Right.
He's asking, how does this little puck actually figure out its location? And how does it whisper that location back to you, the owner? So if you've ever wondered what's inside that tiny device, this deep dive is for you.
And that's our mission today. We're going to unpack the AirTag's core tech, expose the secret sort of crowdsourced network it relies on, and then get into the really cool part, the difference between finding it across town versus, under the couch cushions. Two totally different technologies.
Okay, let's unpack this and start small. Before we get into all the network magic,
Yeah.
what is actually packed into this thing? It's, 1.26 inches across, 11 grams. It's tiny.
It is a powerhouse of miniaturization, and it's built to be used. I mean, it has an IP67 rating for water and dust, so if you drop it in a puddle, it's probably fine.
Okay.
And critically, it runs on a standard CR2032 coin cell battery, the kind you can find anywhere. You can replace it yourself, and it lasts for about a year.
And that long battery life is a huge clue to how it works, right?
It's a direct consequence of the tracking method, exactly.
Yeah.
So inside, you've got the brains of the operation. There are really two key connectivity chips.
Two different radios.
Two different radios for two different jobs. The first one handles Bluetooth Low Energy, or BLE. That's the one that's constantly just passively advertising its presence.
Then the second one.
The second is Apple's own U1 chip, and that is dedicated entirely to something called ultra-wideband, or UWB. We'll get into that later.
And it's not just radios. The sources point out it also has a tiny speaker and an accelerometer.
Correct. The accelerometer is actually key for power management. It lets the AirTag go to sleep when it's not moving and then wake up when it senses motion. It's a very smart system.
So now we get to the core of Elton's question. We have this tiny, energy-efficient puck, but no GPS, no cellular. How does it tell me its location is at the airport?
The simple and defining answer is that the AirTag never knows its own location.
Doesn't know where it is.
It has no idea, and it doesn't need to. It simply broadcasts a secure, anonymous signal using that Bluetooth radio. It's like a digital beacon just saying, I'm an AirTag, and here is my temporary ID.
So it's not locating itself. It's waiting for something else to locate it by proxy.
Exactly. It operates on what Apple calls the Find My protocol. When your lost AirTag is within Bluetooth range, so about 30 feet, 10 meters, of any of the hundreds of millions of active Apple devices out there.
iPhones, iPads, Macs.
Right. Any of those devices act as an opportunistic relay.
Okay, let's walk through that step by step. I drop my keys with an AirTag at a coffee shop. Someone with an iPhone walks past. What happens on their phone?
Their phone hears your AirTag's little Bluetooth broadcast. And because the phone does have GPS, it notes its own precise location and your AirTag's temporary ID.
Okay.
Then it securely sends a tiny packet of data to Apple servers, just the timestamp, that temporary AirTag ID, and the phone's GPS coordinates. And boom, that crowdsourced position is now linked to your tag.
And the iPhone user who just helped me find my keys has no idea they even...
Absolutely no idea. It's completely invisible to them. And this is where the privacy architecture is just so critical.
Right, because my first thought is, if there are millions of devices relaying locations, isn't that a massive privacy risk? Couldn't someone track the relaying phones or even use the AirTag signal to track me over time?
That's the key problem they had to solve. And the solution is that the Bluetooth signal is not static. The AirTag broadcasts a rotating public key that changes frequently, sometimes multiple times an hour.
So the ID is constantly disposable.
Precisely. It prevents anyone just listening on the street from building a long-term pattern of your movements. The signal they pick up becomes useless minutes later.
And the relay process itself is encrypted.
End-to-end encrypted. When that person's iPhone sends the location data to Apple, it's encrypted with a key that only your phone possesses. Apple just acts as a secure mailbox. They can't see the location data, only you can decrypt it.
That is impressive. But it does highlight the main functional limitation, which is really important for Elton and for you, the listener, to understand.
Absolutely. Because this whole system relies on these chance encounters with other Apple devices, AirTags cannot give you continuous real-time tracking like a true GPS device.
Right. If I leave my backpack in a remote hiking cabin and nobody with an iPhone walks within 30 feet of it for 3 days,
You won't get an update for 3 days. The moment your item is in a location with low Apple device density, a rural area, a big warehouse, it essentially becomes dead in the water until someone passes by. It's opportunistic, not continuous.
okay, so this is where it gets really interesting for me. Let's say the Find My network worked perfectly. It told me my lost keys are somewhere inside this building, but now I have to actually find them. How does it go from that broad neighborhood-level tracking to pinpointing them under a specific couch cushion?
That is the job of the second radio, the U1 chip and ultra-wideband.
UWB.
Right. So once you, the owner, are physically close, maybe 15, 20 feet away,
Yeah.
the system switches gears. It moves from that big BLE network to a super precise short-range communication channel.
And UWB is just so much better for directionality than Bluetooth, isn't it? Bluetooth just kind of estimates distance based on signal strength, which can be thrown off by anything.
You nailed it. Signal strength is notoriously unreliable. UWB is different. It doesn't measure signal strength. It measures the precise time of flight of the radio wave between your iPhone and the AirTag.
And since radio waves travel at the speed of light, you're measuring a tiny, tiny fraction of a second.
Which gives you millimeter-level accuracy. It's incredible. But for this precision finding to work, both devices have to have that U1 chip. So this only works with iPhone 11 and later models.
And when that UWB connection happens, the phone isn't just measuring distance, is it? It's building a whole directional map for you.
It is. It's actually fusing data from multiple sensors. It uses the UWB distance, sure, but it also pulls data from your iPhone's gyroscope, its accelerometer, and even the camera system using ARKit.
Apple's augmented reality framework.
Exactly. It's effectively overlaying the AirTag's location onto the physical world that you see through your phone.
So for you as the user, what you see is this big arrow on your screen pointing you in the exact direction, 12 feet to your left.
That's the experience. And as you get closer, it'll say things like 0.2 feet nearby. And importantly, this isn't just a visual thing. The sources confirm it works perfectly with accessibility features like VoiceOver, which will literally talk you to the object.
This really helps to frame when to use an AirTag versus something else. The sources brought up a really telling anecdote about someone trying to track their grandparent with dementia.
Yes, and that is the perfect example of the AirTag's limitations. For tracking a person or a moving vehicle, you really need a dedicated GPS tracker.
Let's break down that difference again, just because it's so crucial.
So a dedicated GPS tracker uses satellites to know its own position constantly, and then it uses a 4G or 5G cell network to report that position. The advantage is real-time, continuous tracking.
But the disadvantages are a higher price, much shorter battery life. We're talking days, not a year. And you have to pay a monthly subscription for that cell service.
Correct. The AirTag is cheap, the battery lasts forever, and there's no subscription. But as that person trying to track their grandfather discovered, the location updates were delayed, unreliable.
Because he was out on his scooter without his own phone.
Exactly. The location only updated when a random person with an iPhone happened to pass within 30 feet of him. It just confirms. AirTags are for finding misplaced personal items, not for reliably tracking moving assets or, people where a delay could be critical.
Now, beyond those two main radios, there's one more communication method built in. Near-field communication, or NFC.
Yeah, NFC is basically the recovery protocol for a Good Samaritan. If you put your AirTag in lost mode and someone finds it, they can just tap it with their phone, even an Android phone, and a link will pop up with a message and contact info you've set.
It's the cross-platform bridge for getting it back.
It is.
So, given how effective this whole anonymous tracking system is, it's not surprising Apple had to build in some pretty strong anti-stalking features right from the start.
Oh, absolutely. That was the #1 concern. The system is designed so that if an AirTag that's been separated from its owner is traveling with you for a while, your iPhone will give you a privacy alert. It'll say, an AirTag is traveling with you.
And for people who don't have an iPhone.
The AirTag itself will start playing a sound through that little internal speaker. Apple has tweaked this with firmware updates, but now, if it's separated from its owner and detects movement, it'll play a sound randomly within, I believe, 8 to 24 hours.
One last security point. They're also built to be anti-theft.
Right, they have a lock mechanism. Researchers found that an AirTag is locked to a single iCloud account when you first set it up. So even if a thief finds one and does a hard reset on it, it can only be paired back to the original owner's account. It makes them useless to steal and resell.
Dope. To wrap this up for Elton, the genius here is really twofold. First, the AirTag finds itself by proxy, piggybacking on this huge global Find My network using Bluetooth.
And that location is then relayed securely and anonymously by millions of devices that are already out there. And then when you get close, it switches to that super precise U1 ultra-wideband chip to guide you the last few feet.
When you step back and look at the big picture, the real achievement isn't just the device itself, is it? It's the network. Apple built this global tracking system without launching a single satellite or building one cell tower.
That is the defining factor. They leveraged the infrastructure that was already in everyone's pockets. It's brilliant. But, it does raise an interesting question when you look at the source material on hardware security.
How so?
Well, we know Apple ensures our privacy through software. The encryption is solid, the rotating keys are smart, but the actual hardware, the chip inside, is built with pretty standard low-cost components. And security researchers have shown that it's vulnerable to physical attacks like voltage glitching.
What does a vulnerability like that mean for an average person?
It means that while your AirTag signal is secure over the air, someone with physical access to the device and the right tools can actually bypass the hardware protections. They can get in and modify the firmware.
So they could potentially clone a tag or change how it behaves?
For research purposes, yes, they've proven it's possible. The device itself is not an impenetrable fortress. The security really relies on the encryption and the sheer scale of the distributed network.
So it makes you wonder, when you have a massive privacy system that relies on a decentralized global network of millions of devices, how much does the physical security of that single $30 endpoint truly matter in the long run?
It's a fascinating question, something to think about until our next deep dive.